Next up, we have questions 8 through 14, and you can see those on the right side of my screen. If you're up for a big challenge, I recommend pausing the video, trying these questions on your own, and then resuming and listening to the strategies and advice and checking your answers. So here are the first 3 questions, 8 through 9 or 8 through 10 on that first page. And then if I scroll down, you'll see questions 11 through 14. Now, for these questions, what you have to do is in the text, you have to find either a word or a short phrase that answers the question. Now, the questions might involve numbers, it might be just words, and in your answer, you have to be careful for formatting that. So let's jump right in with question 8. What is the minimum volume of urine which a healthy patient should produce per day? Now, we don't want to forget everything we've been doing up to this point. So step number 1, thinking of which of those 4 texts is this likely to come from. Step number 2, keywords that you can be skimming for. And then step number 3, looking for not only the answer, but supporting evidence to make us confident about our answer. So if I'm looking here, minimum volume of urine, I think first of all, we want to pay attention to words that are unlikely to have a synonym. So urine is a good example. I mean, you could describe it in different ways, but with words like that, likely the notes are going to have that same word. And here we have which a healthy patient should produce per day. So another clue, we have a length of time given and healthy patient. So we can think of where might we find that. If I was thinking about that, I would probably either go to text B or possibly text A. Based on what we've seen so far, we know that text B has a list of criteria, so that's always a good place to start. So let's go down and see. So conduct a physical examination that includes, we have blood pressure, BMI, fluid input, and urine output over 24-hour period. So right away, we should acknowledge clues that are guiding us to that answer. 24-hour period, we have that reflected in per day. And we have specifically the exact word urine output, so that's given. Then we have in the brackets here, normal output should be greater than 700 milliliters. So here's my piece of advice. When we have questions involving numbers, be very, very careful when you go to answer it that you're actually answering the question itself. So the question is asking, what is the minimum volume? Now our text has, it should be greater than 700 milliliters. But if we're actually answering the question, the minimum volume is 700, and I'll keep the units formatted the same. The minimum volume is 700 milliliters. This is a common trap or difficulty that we see with the numbers. Often it's easy to find them, but it's hard to adapt them to the question. So look out for this when we have another question like that later. All right, number 9, which part of the body should be observed when assessing a patient's level of skin elasticity? So a couple of things. We're looking for specifically a body part, so that's one clue. We see the word assessing, so that should be, again, helping us to guide to which text is likely to have it. And then we have level of skin elasticity, another word, a bit like with urine, how it's hard to substitute for that word, so you're probably going to see something like that in the text. So if I'm seeing the word assessment, I'm going straight to text B here. And when I look through my list, I have here lots of information here, identifying observable symptoms of dehydration, and I see exactly that loss of skin turgor or elasticity. So first of all, that is one clue that might have the right answer here. Check by grasping skin on the back of the hand between 2 fingers so that it is tented up. So the only body part here that's actually answering the question is, again, which part should be observed? The back of the hand. Note that the 2 fingers obviously is another body part, but that's what's actually doing the testing of it. So the correct answer here there's kind of two that you can put. You can either just say back of the hand, or you can include the article, and I'll put that in brackets here. The back of the hand. What we see with a lot of our answers is articles, so a and the are usually optional. But what's important here is you don't need to say grasping skin on the back of the hand or on the back of the hand, because again, the question's just asking which part. Answer back of the hand. I usually recommend when you've answered it, go and do that check. Check that your answer makes sense based on what's written. All right. Number 10, which illness may affect patients' ability to judge when they are thirsty? So we have two criteria in this question. We're first of all trying to find the name of an illness, but not only that, it has to be something that affects the ability to judge when they're thirsty. So a common trap that we see is when you're given a question like that, and maybe you see lots of illnesses that could fit that answer, but you have to make sure it also fits the second part of that question. Now, if we're thinking illnesses and we think back to our first 7 questions, probably text A is a good place to start when we're scanning for that. Now, when we're looking through here on a quick skim, let's see what we see here. So we have Alzheimer's disease is mentioned. We have a mix of symptoms, conditions, and some of these are more diseases. So diabetes is included, incontinence. Yeah, so this question is challenging because you're sorting through the potential options. So then step 2 is to look for what phrase matches the ability to judge, reflecting that. And if we go back up here to Alzheimer's disease, age-related changes include a reduced sensation of thirst, and this may be more pronounced with those with Alzheimer's disease. Another clue here, again, may affect, we want to pay attention to modals and certainty and whatnot. Now, you might be saying had a stroke, but again, go back to the question, which illness? So in this case, Alzheimer's disease is fitting that rather than just a medical event that happened, which would fit with stroke, if that makes sense. Now, when we're writing that out, you can either write, let me just see there. Just get the spelling, double check there. It's a challenging one to spell. You can write Alzheimer's, or you can actually write disease as well, as that is part of the unit there listed in the text. So we have that written out. But again, with careful copying, you want to make sure you're spelling the name correctly. You will lose marks. You will lose the mark if you don't. So be very careful there. All right, let's go on to the next one here. So what condition in number 11, again, may make patients reluctant to drink enough fluids? So very similar to number 10. We're not only looking for the name of the condition, but we're also looking for this criteria that it makes them reluctant to drink. Well, a good guess, I would still go back to text A and start to skim for potential options that fit that. And what do we have? So we've seen Alzheimer's up here. We have reduced renal function is also a factor. Dementia, poorly controlled diabetes are common, okay, associated with poor hydration. So that's, talking about lack of hydration, but again, reluctant to drink. It's not exactly reflected there. The likelihood of dehydration may also be exacerbated by medications including diuretics. Incontinence predisposes people to dehydration as they may limit their fluid intake. Aha! That's a great paraphrase of that idea of being reluctant to drink enough fluids, the actual action of limiting it themselves. So that tells me, of all the conditions listed, incontinence, again, may make or predisposes people to. We want to see how the language is reflected in that. Continence there. So this sort of question where you're asked for one specific condition or illness, and then the whole text has a list, it's testing your ability to sort through the details quickly, eliminate options, and zero in on the one that fully matches what the question is asking. So this sort of question is very common. You can expect it across the different test that you are practicing. All right, number 12. What analyses might a doctor recommend for a patient diagnosed with dehydration? Okay, a couple things stand out to me here. I notice right away analyses is plural. So pay attention if it's one thing or multiple things, because what can happen is in your text, maybe you're looking for the name of multiple different ones, or it's multiple of the same one. That can be very tricky with plurals. Again, we have might a doctor recommend for a patient diagnosed with dehydration. Now, we have to be careful here. When you see that, you may immediately think of text B because it's all about assessment and diagnosing dehydration. But again, read the question. Notice here that it's once the patient is diagnosed with dehydration, so recommended for a patient. And that's a clue for us that actually we're not looking at the assessment to make or to determine if someone's dehydrated, but actually to manage their condition afterwards. So based on that, I would go to text D. We have information about staff knowledge and education. If a resident is assessed as dehydrated, so that tells me we're in the right place there. And then a list of things to do. And so I'm skimming here. Is there anything mentioned about tests? Blood tests and withholding certain medications there. So I go back and I ask myself this question: tests, analysis, like follow-up investigations, all of those fit under that term analyses there. So two things confirm this answer. One is it's plural, so notice it's not a singular blood test, it's blood tests. And the fact that, again, it's not before they've been diagnosed, it's after. Tricky wording, so really read your questions carefully for that. Great. Number 13, if the daily intake goal is on target, how long should you wait before reassessing the patient? Okay, a clue for us as well, reassessing. That should tell us something about where we should be looking. We're looking for a length of time, so how long? And this condition, if the daily intake goal is on target. So what's nice when we start to get into the later questions is often we've seen pieces of this information by searching for other answers. So in this case, if again, I'm looking in text D because of this word reassessment of the patient, which is interesting. And what do I see here? Monitor symptoms by repeating assessment. That's exactly the concept reflected by reassessment. Daily, so we have one length of time. If there is no or only marginal improvement in fluid intake, in 7 days, if the daily intake goal is being achieved. Achieved as in on target. So we see that substitution there. So the correct answer here should be 7 days. 7 days. If you prefer to write numbers, that is fine instead. I usually recommend write however it is in the text, just for simplicity and avoiding any mistakes, but both formats are acceptable there. This one's a nice one because the language daily intake goal is literally in the question itself. Good. And lastly, number 14, how much fluid should a 190 centimeter man who weighs 70 kilograms drink each day? What's nice about this is you have big clues here as to where to look. So we have some measurements, we have weight, and we have height given. So probably your first thought, well, hopefully, should be text C here. Now, we go to text C, and there's two challenges for finding the answer. First of all, we have to make sure we're actually reading the chart correctly. So 190 centimeters for the height, and the weight we have at 70 kilograms. So it should be 2.4. Now, under the stress of an exam, be careful with this. It can very easily get confused as to which number you're finding. It's easy to make mistakes, so just slow down a little when you're reading the chart. But there's a second challenge to this question, and it is the same as what we saw early on here with the units. So go back to the question, how much fluid should a 190 centimeter man who weighs 70 kilograms drink each day? So here's how you have to think of it. Whatever units are given in the question should not be repeated in the answer. Otherwise, it's considered redundant or unnecessarily repetitive. So if I asked you how much fluid per day, your answer should be 2.4 liters. And you don't need 2.4 liters per day because we actually already have that in the question itself. Now, this is very challenging, so let me break this down a little bit more. If I said just how much fluid should he drink? Well, he should drink 2.4 liters per day. If I ask you how much fluid per day, correct answer, 2.4 liters. If I said how many liters per day, you should say 2.4, no units. So the idea is you've read the question carefully, you've read the units carefully, and you've identified what is missing or what you need to add to your answer there. Very common to make a mistake with this, so check your units for your numbers very carefully. Okay, so that is questions, if we go back here, 8 through 14. Again, lots of short, whether it's a short phrase or often 1 to 2 words here. You'll see lots of nouns in our answers and so forth. So just things to think about as you're going through your practice exercises. Our next video, we will get to our last 5 questions, and I'll give you a bit of a preview here so you can take a look at what is to come. And our format's changing a little bit. So instead of having a blank line, we're actually fitting the answer into the blanks, fill in the blanks that we see here. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so that when I answer those next questions, you can follow along, check your answers, and see if there's any strategies that can help you as you answer those questions.